Good evening, and welcome to the new Falmouth Community Media Center and our first open mic night, Poetic license. We're glad everyone could come, and we're so happy to have such a great turnout. Before we get started, I just want to point out the emergency exits. There's one behind you, one to your right, and two behind the curtain. In an event of emergency, one of the staff members will help you exit the building safely. Just want to talk a little bit about FCTV. The Falmouth Community Media Center is a nonprofit community media center that fosters the production and distribution of local information. FCTV provides access to training, technology, and content to encourage community dialogue, awareness, and expression. That is our mission statement, and we encourage you to tour our facility at the end of the evening and discuss memberships with me or any of the FCTV staff. My name is Andrew Richards. I'm the Membership and Outreach Coordinator for FCTV. And our hostess this evening is Alice Kociemba. She's a North Falmouth resident. She's the author of Born Bridge and the chapbook Death of T-Tech at Hardware. As founding director of Calliope Poetry for Community, Alice facilitates a monthly poetry discussion group at the Falmouth Public Library. Her current poetry projects include co-editing, along with Robin Smith Johnson and Rich Yeomans, From the Farthest Shore, Discovering Cape Cod and the Islands Through Poetry, which will be released in 2020 by Bass River Press. I'm very appreciative of Alice's assistance in planning this evening, and we're excited to announce we have another open mic planned here at FCTV on Thursday, September 26th, so mark your calendars, and we hope to make this a monthly event. Now I'd like to introduce Alice Kociemba.
So this is a 5-minute segment, and Andrew is going to time it, and I have an old-fashioned stopwatch, so it never runs out of batteries. The only thing we want you to silence is your cell phones, not your voices, and this is wonderful to be at the new media center, and afterwards wander around, look at the art that they have in the hallways. There's both gluten-free snacks and some healthier snacks in the lobby, and regular for the sugarholics like myself. There's regular snacks too. And I just also want to say that what a wonderful opportunity to celebrate spoken word, and especially at this time, there is no such thing as something that can't be said respectfully and compassionately. And we really are an open mic. So all voices are welcome, and you'll hear both poetry, story, comedy, and we're open to feedback, Andrew and I, about whether you want things like this or you want it to change, since this is just the launch of a new series, Poetic License. For the readers, especially if you're a first-time reader, tell us it's your first time at an open mic, you get an extra round of applause. It is extremely difficult, and the lights are going to make you feel like even more nervous than otherwise. And for the audience, you really matter. Anybody who came just to listen, actually, you get the first round of applause. The open mic is, by its nature, inclusive. That's why we're going to really keep track of time. 5 minutes really means 5 minutes. If it's 5 minutes and 10 seconds, that's not a problem. But we're going to let you know with a little, maybe a peace sign, rather than giving somebody the finger. I think that's a better thing to do. So we're going to just let you know. Andrew, let me know. We want you to enjoy yourselves. This is supposed to be fun, and that's what it's going to be. Get comfortable with the mic. If it does adjust, Andrew can help with that. Speak to the audience, even if you can't really see them. You can see the first row. So that you want to make sure that you say your name. I'm going to read the names, but because some of you I don't know, I may, bungle your name. So please start off by saying your name. If there is a need to set a context for what you're going to either read or speak, just give a little setup so that the audience can follow. The only other thing I needed to say, you did the emergency exit. There are restrooms down near the entry. We're not going to have an intermission. We're going to go for as long as we need to go in 5-minute segments, and we should end around 9:30. That is all I have to say. I'm going to be the last reader, so the next time you see me, it'll be the end of the night. And I will read people's names. So the first brave person that we need to welcome is Elaine Robinson. Elaine.
Okay, I'm Elaine, first time at open mic. 2 poems. One of my first poem, big inspiration for me, is the pets that I've had throughout the years. I'm a lifelong dachshund, owned by a dachshund, and this poem is about my current dog with a little bit of fantasy thrown in there. It's called Mermaids and Wiener Dogs. My little weenie, with his short, stubby legs, barks fervently for his goodies. Cat food, chicken, coffee with cream. Eating and drinking all in sight. Calories add up, so off for a walk to the pond we trot. Squirrels, blue jays, observe our fast pace. Cars zoom by as if in a dream. The mermaid's singing flows through the dusk air. Her melodic voice signals the end of day and the beginning of night. Napoleon sniffs and lifts his leg at every tree, stump, and blade of grass. The wind fades away as the day comes to an end. The soft voice of the woman with the fishtail disappears into the silence of the dark blue water. She waits for the human and her weenie dog. Fascinated by our daily ritual of a stroll that completes our day, but signals the beginning of a mermaid's watch over a body of water connected to the ocean world. The tiny hot dog sniffs the edge of a cool, dark blue pond. Ripples signal, come hither, as the mermaid's eyes peer below the surface. He lets out a short woof. Sensing her presence, but a wagging tail indicates he already knows her. A hand comes through the water, stroking the soft black fur. She takes it all in, recording every move of the wiener dog and his human. Okay, mermaids and wiener dogs. Okay. Second poem, big inspiration for me also is nature and the ocean that surrounds us. And this is a whale's tail, again with a little bit of fantasy thrown in. This is Molly, the blue whale. She swims the oceans of planet Earth, her species almost gone, but Molly survives the harpoon of death. God gave Molly a unique skill. She shrinks to a minnow's size when the whalers arrive. Through the years, they pursue her, a lovely cetacean, a legend, a gigantic sea creature, who disappears when hunters engage in the chase. Confusion abounds as distraught predators search in the vast ocean, a mystery to them. The story of the vanishing blue whale abounds in whispers as dusk approaches. Danger she senses, becoming one with a school of minnows. Humans swim with her, not knowing the closeness of Earth's largest mammal. Louis the pirate seats with determination to harpoon this mother of many. His anger overflows in a drunken stupor. Magic gives him the ability to diminish to a minnow's size. As the mini pirate chases Molly in glee, not realizing the presence of a great white, hungry with mouth wide open, Louis finds himself in the belly of this ancient predator. Molly returns to her usual size, escaping the harpoon once again, birthing calves, swimming miles of Earth's oceans. And that's it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Keep coming back. Our next reader is Christine Foisey. Come on, Christine.
Noisy like noisy. Hi. This is first time at open mic, and first time writing anything, poetic license, big time. I call this Morning Sounds to the Beach. Caw, caw, wake up, caw, caw. Meow, meow, feed me, meow. Blurp, 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 blurp. Coffee perking, blurp, blurp. Roar, car engine starting. Honk, 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 watch out. Tire humming rhythmically, humming on silent blacktop, humming, humming. Click, 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 blinker click. Crunching onto sandy gravel lot. A cheery good morning, park anywhere. Children's laughter softly floating through the air. Gulls screeching, screeching overhead. Scrunch, scrunch, flippy floppy scrunch, scrunch, scrunching sand. Squeak, kerplunk, chair positioned, ah. Splish, splash, splish, splash, splish, splash, 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 splash.
That's great. And our next reader is Robin Vecchione, that's what I meant, of course. Come on up.
Hello, my name's Robin. It's my first time. I love Poetic License because you can be wrong and it doesn't matter. Pardon me? Oh. I write poems, and they all rhyme, and they're all about experiences I've experienced. I have someone in my family who is an addict, and I have two about those experiences. And the first one is titled Addict. I need to put my glasses on. Pardon me? Okay. This one's titled Addict. I'm addicted to drugs. I'm addicted to sex. I'm addicted to gambling and all the rest. Once I had thought, if I simply stayed clean, my life could become some perfect dream. In the beginning, nothing had changed. Living without drugs really felt strange. I am finally starting to see my brain's health. Recovery begins by changing myself. The second one is called Terminal Critique. Terminally unique, tragically hip. I think I'm experiencing a Freudian slip. Pathetically passionate, morbidly mundane. When I look in the mirror, I think I'm insane. Unusually usual, perfectly plain. The disease lives inside me, continuous pain. Predictable unpredictability, prominently obscure. The road to recovery, so simple and pure. Objective objectivity, refined untouchability. I need a program to give me some stability. I've been in some unhealthy relationships in my life, and I'm in one now. I've been married for 10 years that is really healthy. So I have two poems that are kind of both sides of that coin. The first one's called, What's Love Got to Do with It? Self-induced pain that I walk through today. Why do I do this when I know there's a way? To end this hell would seem simple to do. When it comes to relationships, I don't have a clue. Will I go on? Do I think it will change? I know my disease keeps me deranged. When will I learn that I need help too? Saving our world is all that I do. They told me that love was about give and take. When you take from me, there's nothing left in your wake. I saw you last night. It was like in a dream. Did you look like a goddess, or was it a scheme? I'm stuck in that place where what's wrong seems so right. My disease is again winning. I must put up a fight. This one's called Perfect Fit. Last night I went around the world. Inside my head, the perfect girl. It seemed like a fantasy, how that feeling felt. You and me, white chocolate melt. The perfect fit, inside of you. I feel the thoughts, I know are true. I don't need to know if this is real. Trust my instincts, the way that I feel. I hope we never think of control, try to make it stop, or take it slow. To give our life, me and you, can be one thing, we always do. I know it's right. It's meant to be. The perfect fit, you and me. Whoa, it's a hard one to get through. This one's about a little store down the street. Really? That was 5 minutes? Oh, 1 minute left? Oh, that's a shame. Well, let me skip to, I like to end with a quote from a book, one of my favorite books, Life of Pi by Jan Martel. But first I would like to suggest that people put down their phones, not you people, put down their phones and pick up a book. I don't mean a Kindle, a physical book, a hardcover with a spine, something you can feel and touch, a thing you can put on a shelf and look at, something to be taken down and read again. This reality, although the words within may not be, because I like fiction. So here's a quote. The main battlefield for good, it's not the open ground of the public arena, but the small clearing of the heart.
Okay, thank you so much, Robin. I really enjoyed hearing you, and I want everybody to know that we're going to have 15 minutes of fame in 5-minute segments. So come back next month; you'll get your second 5 minutes. But I really enjoyed hearing that. Our next reader is T. Roy or Troy Cutler. T. Roy. Here we go.
Well, hello everyone. I am an open micer from Falmouth. I have written many of my own poems. I have some for you today. Hopefully they're not too standoffish, but they shouldn't be. So, here we go. This first one is called Falmouth. As we all know, we're in Falmouth right now. So if you're watching this from afar, just attribute this poem that I wrote to the poetry world out there. So here we go, Falmouth. Falmouth is a town so grand, all the people in it can't withstand. Up and down the streets we go, meet new faces to and fro. It is indeed a large town, you never know when a new poem is going down. Bright lights in city squares, no, we do not have any fairs. But fairs we do have in all the season, they should never stop for no rhyme, no reason. Alright. This next one, at the open mic, I usually talk about the open mic when I'm at another open mic. So this one's called the toll of open mic. So you pay a free toll, but it's a toll at that. So that's why I named it the toll of open mic. Here we go. If you do not come to open mic, you might most likely not own a bike. Usually you get here by car, even if your residence is not that far. Poetry and musical acts we perform. Man, what a peep show. What a swarm. Mondays and Tuesdays and now on Thursdays too. Hey Mom, can you find my left shoe? I do act out on these days in many theater shows. What will my next poem be about? We'll have the grows. My beloved poems I do explore. This is the end of the current one. Oh look, there is the door. Alright. Got 2 more for you guys tonight. This one is the first one I ever but read an open mic. This one's called Rock Solid. It's a short one, but it's a good one. Rock on, you solid rock. Rock on, even though you can't talk. Talk, talk, talk to the rock in the rain or snow. How you made, I don't really know. Soft and round or pointy and hard, wherever you are, you'll always be barred. Now this last one that I have for you tonight, I changed the words a little bit because, of course, we're now at FCTV, this great, wonderful building that we have now. This one's called The Bar Scene, and I changed the words a little bit so it fits to this place, which is very good. FCTV is a place to be, even if you're from across the sea. People always shuffle in and out. I like the beer that comes from the spout. No, actually, I don't drink. Hey, does that vodka look pink? Back at the station, my home away from home. Will these girls just leave me alone? Not really, but I do have fun here a lot. Let me all buy you a round or a shot. Not. Thank you, I am from Falmouth.
That's great, thank you. T. Roy. Our next reader is Karen Klein. Welcome, Karen.
Okay, I'm going to read two poems that are quite different in their subject matter and in what they're about. I think of, and I write a lot of poetry that memorializes people who have been part of my life and who are no longer with us. And so this one is pretty self-explanatory. It has a song in it. I have to do a little singing. I'm not a singer, so I won't do the whole song, I promise. Just a couple of lines of it. The title of this poem is Little Twinkie Toes, and it's for AMW 17-1900 to 4/14/1993. My mother loved Elvis. Coming from Manhattan to Mashpee, she'd pour a slug of Bailey's Irish cream and close the door to her room. Sounds of gospel rock and cigarette smoke let us know she'd settled in. My mother loved to dance, but she married a man who loved gin rummy and schmoozing. She lived a long time after he died. After dinner, she would tap dance in her little silver shoes, singing, "They call the lady Louisville Lou. Oh, what that vampin' baby can do. She's got the meanest pair of eyes, Theta Bera eyes." Well, I won't go on. That's perfect. The next strophe. My mother loved puzzles. A permanently set up card table held a jumble of pieces. Their jigsaws found partners, and over weeks, a landscape emerged. The puzzle complete, she penciled answers in stacks of crosswords. My mother's dream was to be on TV. She saw an old woman in an ad that she made famous, "Where's the beef?" and thought, I can do that. My sister got her a headshot. She went to a cattle call, panicked at the mob, refused to audition, and walked away from fame. Wrong move, Ma. If you'd auditioned, you'd still be on TV hawking someone's product, and I'd still be able to see and to hear you. Now, for something very different, this is a poem I'm struggling with. It needs a little bit of explanation. The title is Shostakovich's Fifth. It refers to Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony, which he was writing under extreme duress from Stalin, who hated him and really wanted to send him off to Siberia. And Shostakovich had to somehow prove that he was okay and Bolshevik enough and so on, and he lived under tremendous tension. And this piece is a masterpiece. I am trying to recapitulate some of the feelings and some of the musicality without singing or doing any music except the music of the words. This was at Tanglewood last summer. Shostakovich Fifth. Strings pounce on the note, startle the audience to attention. We didn't know what was coming. We didn't know we would drown. We will drown. Through the tumult of horns, a solo instrument, sometimes a violin, sometimes the flute, the ache of its melody, a stiletto thrust that opens memory's wounds and weeps. My baby sister, snow blonde, running after Skippy, her little legs churning. Peppy March, stomping along with its brutal irony, wave after wave after wave, flute, oboe, cello, pulls us out. Woman in front of me, hunched over, fists clenched, unclenched, arms pulse, up and down. Undertow drags us back within. Old parental voices. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Clear celeste harp tones wrench, tangle knots of childhood. Timpani boils over, cymbals slash through black brass blare. We give in, we give up, we beg. The composer begs for release from old, intolerable, unresolvable contradictions. Exhausted silence. Then, like a giant breaker, the audience rises, roars. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. I wish I had known your mother. I could have looked. Well, I think the genes will out. I think we get a little bit of a glimpse of your mother. So thank you so much. Our next reader is Kathleen Casey.
Good evening. The poem that I'd like to read tonight is dedicated to parents who will be sending their children off to school soon. I'm a retired teacher and my heart is still in the classroom. In particular, this poem is dedicated to a young man named Nathan. At the bus stop, I see her hair backlit with gold that flows and curls over narrow shoulders, and an aqua backpack with wing-like straps that appear ready to lift her body into life's next stage on the seaside peninsula where salt air has already cooled in September. Now, watching her board the yellow bus, I almost don't recognize my daughter, glowing with vibrance as she waves and calls out an elongated goodbye that washes over me like an outgoing tide here on the sidewalk, stunned with camera clicking. Thank you.
It's hard to imagine that the new school year is going to start, but very soon. So our next reader is Sam Carlton. Welcome, Sam.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. My first time at open mic. This first poem takes place in Woods Hole, where we used to come every summer from New York. And it was a wonderful house, still is. So this is from my childhood. It's called Industry. Age 6. In the orange bathroom of our summer house, the plumbing works inspected and pulled apart to find out its mysteries. A heavy porcelain top moved off to the side, exposing an inner bulb and chain. A rubber floater in the rising and falling water, stains on the bottom. A green line where the water finally settles up when silence comes, if it comes. I had industry, an early career going from bathroom to bathroom, looking for works to repair. My boyfriends, whom I ruled and led around in games like a miniature Catherine the Great, taking each one to a bathroom for inspection, returned years later asking for a replay of, "Now, take off your pants. What else can you do with that hose?" Jealous of their skills as potential firemen. Instead of a plumber or fireman, I became a dancer and choreographer. Still a bit dominant, still industrious, now gay and shy as a pet snake. The next poem, I had an ambition to write 50 poems about each state in the United States. I've written 2. This one is Wyoming. Since receiving a catalog for Western boots, I've thought of moving to Wyoming, a rugged state of mountains and streams, women and men with strong jaws, where lightning strikes find warm bodies. I can picture that me striding to the corral to check on my high-spirited horse, my scuffed boots in the swirling dust, the soft velvet nose of my horse, looking for a carrot. It doesn't matter that I'm a bad rider, that horses see me coming and they know that they can do whatever they want when I'm up in the saddle, if I can get up there. It doesn't matter that in Wyoming they kill gay people. What matters is that it's different from here, where I'm safe, except for my opinion of myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. It's good to hear. Thank you. Our next reader is Jackie Finney. Jackie.
Nice and bright. I'm calling this Usurps of a Life Well Lived, or Excerpts of a Life Well Lived. Sono io biografica. I was raised in this north by southern folks. I think of myself as hybridized, locally grown and cultivated. Education-wise, I have attended my own garden mostly. Art and language forayings from which I write my strings. Sugar, succinct you ain't, 'cause you just can't. That's my mother. One must s'amuser, Jean Cocteau. Culturally and phonologically trying to be aware. In the forefront is Edward Gorey, Ogden Nash, Boussasan, and Johnny Cash. French theater of the absurd, Jewish humor, Japanese aesthetics, and once a course in punctuation. Good heavens, I've lost my place. All right, and a poem, Why I Talk So Much. It's an abridged version, for sure. And now at 67 years of age, I wonder why at this stage it comes to my attention and frequently is mentioned, the speed and tangential of my daily colloquial. My so-called gift of gab, what I feel fights the drab, is only heard as Jackie's blabs. Less oxytocin and serotonin? You want to hear me groaning? I will therefore at times make myself closed captioned on demand, whether in the air, on the sea, or on the land. And to whomever wants earplugs as a safety measure, I'll provide them with great pleasure. Just remember though, the less we all are idiosyncratically communicado, the more we become starkly roboto. A poem, A Midwinter's Tableau Vivant. Wanting to combat the winter funk, we dressed up in Edwardian steampunk, scrounging through our rooms, a lot of bric-a-brac upon we zoomed, until suddenly our still lives arose before our startled eyes. Agatha Alexandria and her gentleman Horatio in consortium appeared in costume opprobrium, surrounded with treasures from their Sherlock Holmes-like emporium. Apothecaric specimens in formaldehyde placed next to bookends Arcadian-based, Japanese tanuki, snake and owl stare, an Egyptian print and a balloon in air, a submarine with skull, no evidence of the dull, shades of Humboldt and of Verne, necessitating a Dankeschön for all the fun we have enjoyed as our imaginations were employed. Another poem, Consider the Bowerbird. He goes to such assiduous trouble to make Roman arched hovels, beckoning a mate bride, reckoning on his prowess and pride, to entrance and to implore a female to his door, a quiet recessed area of a glade, with countless trinkets plied and laid of shells and berries and woods debris, his conscious gathering to such a degree, attracting and dazzling with colored decree, carefully, craftfully creating his scene, selecting his colors to offset nature's green, and most often it's blue it seems. Whether ultramarine, indigo, or azure, it is the most successful lure. How not unlike my own gardening manning, a parallel in my perennial jardins planning, clustering complementary colored posies, chosen purposely to force the eye to vie, the startling juxtaposes where they do lie. The morning glories climb the wrought iron trellis, sometimes making the nasturtiums so jealous. The taller shoots from the salvia blue and black lean atop their yellow-orange neighbors in the back, while powder blue plumbago does its own tango, its branches teasing the orange-red crocamesia. The dire element to my planting scheme, whether in the ground or in a vase, the just right marvelous blue to chase, my garden dictum being, how well worth is the incidence of blue seeing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Jackie. Our next reader is Donna Shearer. Donna.
Good evening, new friends. What better way to spend a night than in this gorgeous facility sharing poetry? This is a little different from what I usually write. It's called Dead Things. I remember my very first dead thing, a snake forsaken on the Wisconsin road. No one was there to say, don't touch, but I heard it in my head anyway. Crouched like a Bedouin with a stick in my hand, I turned the pale husk and hung it close before my eyes. Flat, desiccated, intricately swirled, like a funnel cake poured onto the hot tar, then flattened by passing cars. As teenagers, seeing a solo sneaker on the road, we would scream, "Roadkill! Roadkill!" and then laugh until we near expired. Death was a choking joke, too terrible for merely sipping air. And just last week, a dead bunny, the one who, gray and glossy, crept near my window to plunder the clover, lay dead by my front porch. I followed the low-tide smell to his one visible eye, an opaque marble, his fur matted like a roughly stiffened beach towel, stiller than still. He had a burrow under my front porch, perhaps drowned in the flash flood and hailstorm that poured into the earth. But of all the dead things, it is the funeral I attended as a tender child, which imprinted the drama and wonder of here, then gone. A young couple had died in a car crash. I soaked in the solemn tremble of the pipe organ, the church's tragic stink of flowers, twin closed caskets topped by an unblemished wedding photo. After visiting with relatives, I was shushed and shooed out to play with the neighborhood children. Tragedy still at the pinnacle and pit of my heart, a story spilled out of me. I told them I was an orphan. I told them my parents died in a car crash. I bent my head, lowered my eyes, which began to drip and spatter. The children strangers led me by the hand to their parents, repeated the tragic tale. In the Midwestern way, the parents patted my back and there-thered me. Hankies were passed and honked into. Word got back, as it would. And in the heat of the spanking, my very alive parents cried, "Why would you make up such a lie? Do you want us dead?" No, I was simply trying on unimaginable sorrow. Through the sting and the slap, I wept for all the losses of the world yet to come.
Well, Donna, that was a cliffhanger. That was great, thank you. And our next reader is Millie White. Millie.
Hello. For this poem, I was gifted, can you hear me? With much inspiration from my friend Barbara and friend Sandy Feynman Silva and the other students of Falmouth Arts Center Clay Studio. So I thank them for that inspiration. The Anasazi cooking bowl. The sandstone cliffs changed their color from yellow to orange and finally to a pinkish rose by the western setting sun. As I looked downward to shield my eyes from the brilliant shifting rays, a shard of broken pottery caught my attention. This piece, painted with a dark gray lightning bolt, had pushed its way up through centuries of the moraine stone and soil that lay far below the cliff dwellings above. The simple beauty of this bit of pottery made my hand itch, wanting to hold it and feel it within my hand, within my soul, the energy and the creativeness of its maker, an Anasazi, a Puebloan ancestor. And so I did, knowing I would return it to its rightful resting place with hundreds, thousands more in this moraine. It was this one that I held now that had first beckoned to me. Yes, I told the shard, I will return you, as the warmth from the sun and energy from its creator swept me back hundreds of years. Picture this, O modern makers of pots, of cups, O modern makers of bowls, shaped by your own hands from the dough of the earth. Hear and feel the story about our sister from that ancient time. Sitting by her cooking fire, watching it near the time of the fading sun, she had shielded her hand with an animal skin to retrieve the cooking vessel from the coals. The sudden pain of its burning heat had caused her to cry out and drop it, shattering it into many pieces, one of which I now held. Yet, as her friends ran to her and placed her hand into cool water, she smiled and laughed with delight. Though younger than the rest of the women, as a child she had learned her craft from elders who showed her the best places to find clay and how to mold it and fire it. Lately they had learned from travelers to their village how to add tinder, which might strengthen the vessels. Some tenders worked, others created problems. She had used a tender, clay-like, which when wrapped sideways into the bowl made it heavier, but it could stay in the fire longer. Then suddenly it would break. Our potter tried less tender and fired the bowls within covered troughs in the floodplains of the valley below. Today was this bowl's first day as a cooking bowl. The burns on her hand was her reward, for she would need thicker animal skins for her hands. As she told her story to the others, their eyes widened and they praised their little sister, so patient, so creative, so eager to learn. That evening, with a cool, moist wrapping on her hand, she leaned back, listening to the sounds of drums and flutes, welcoming traders and visiting family members to their Pueblo village. Smelling the meats cooking on the spits over the fire's coals, smelling the corn and grains cooking in juices in the new vessels she had helped to create, she smiled. She thought of a time in many years to come when someone might find her pots in all their stages, some broken, some with paint faded from black to gray. Perhaps they would be potters like herself, but using new colors, new tenders, new ways to bake the vessels, molding the clay from their own villages, in their own lands. These things she thought and felt as she drifted off to sleep, to music, and with the same setting sun I'd witnessed, changing the colors of sandstone in her village slowly, softly, in the cliffs of the Mesa Verde.
Oh, thanks so much, Millie. You'll have to come back to the Clay Studio and write some more poems. Our next reader is Vasco Perez. Vasco?
Good evening. My name is Vasco R.A. Perez. This poem that I'm going to read is called America is What I See Down There, and it was inspired by Catherine Lee Bates, who of course is from Falmouth. America is what I see down there. High above the clouds I fly, watching the ground below go by. America is what I see down there, traveling east to west in a jet going fast, moving across this land so vast. America is what I see down there, stretching from sea to sea, a great country I see below me. America is what I see down there. The hills, plains, and mountains with fertile valleys too can all be seen from this sky so blue. America is what I see down there. Below the clouds for all to see, a great earthly democracy. America is what I see down there. With diverse people like its geography, America is a place where we all should be free. America is what I see down there. Looking down through clouds so high, observing the hope of the world go by. America is what I see down there. Rivers winding to and fro like the Mississippi and Ohio. America is what I see down there. Sandy beaches along the shore to snow-topped mountains and so much more. America is what I see down there. Scrub pine forest to grass plain, mountainous terrain with redwood forest and coastal beach again. America is what I see down there. People coming from many lands with hopes, dreams, and well-made plans. America is what I see down there. Waves of amber grain as far as the eye can see. America, the beautiful, my home country. America is what I see down there. Looking down on a land of such beauty and strife, we are unable to see all the bigotry and strife. America is what I see down there. Coming down to earth is like waking from a dream. Reality from a distance is never what it seems. America is what I see down there. We have the power, you and I, to seize this moment, this eternity. Let it not pass by. America is what I see down there. A moment in time can change our history. Dialogue within reveal powers of inner reality. America is what you will see in there. The struggle of good against evil within is a conflict that good will win. America is what we will save from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasco. That was wonderful. And our next reader is Mary Swope.
So nice to be here tonight. This is my first open mic. I have, though, read my poems before to people, and I'm very happy to be reading them today. This first poem is also in some ways it's about our world. It's a poem about the salt marsh in Woods Hole. It's a small salt marsh off Great Harbor. At ebb tide, dark water mirrors the spiky marsh grass, blades black at the base with a rich mud that sucks and sings, hissing, bubbling, as a skitter of fry leap in the shallows. The sticky mud's alive with ribbed mussels, fiddler crabs hole in at high tide, tunneling the spongy ground. Low lying among the grasses, a green heron draws back its snaky neck, sharp bill, to nab the unwary, while tall egrets, slim feathered ghosts, dart in for quick pickings. It's late July. Sea lavender still floats its pink-gray cloud on higher ground, and crisp budded shafts of green salicornia, succulent horns of salt, wait to be found by science school kids who collect them for pickles. When we are gone and the children grown bring their children back to the village, will this small marsh, now sparkling with stars, still be here, reflecting the changes of the moon? Still seethe with life, feeding the ocean? Would its absence even be missed? just one small link that has nourished this planet, which we have the effrontery to claim, dare to call our own. And this is more about America as a whole, but it's also about human beings, I think. I think it's about human nature. Upon hearing news from the border, after all, we are all exiles from other times or places, longing for past Edens to which we know our minds and bodies belong. Not all of us are refugees, fleeing imposed terrors, violations still recalled in shame, that bitter herb. We can only just imagine how it feels to be the occupied, the disrespected, a being whose soft privacy has been invaded, whose deepest self destroyed. Our orchards taken from us, our anger disallowed, mere needs denied. From place to place we run, exiled, seeking some other Eden, snakeless, secure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And are there free seats anywhere? If there is a free seat, it's pointed out because we have some people standing. So there's one there. Okay. All right. So how about this? Standing room only. First night. Thank you, Mary. Our next reader is Mary Joyce. Mary.
I'm humbled by the talent. I'm a singer. I'm not a reader, but I hope you enjoy my song. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the terrorous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glue as the bombs burst in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much, Mary. My guess is that nobody's going to want to follow Mary Joyce, but just so you know, rich humans will. Here.
You are a tough act to follow. So I'm going to read a very short story, a piece of flash fiction, probably more about acceptance and maybe a little bit of hope. And it's called A Sky as Green as a Summer Lawn. Is that a planet or a star, my father asks. He points to the brightest light over the Burns TV antenna. I look up at the fading sky. It's a star, I say. It's twinkling. We are sitting on his stoop, drinking beer as the neighborhood kids play wiffle ball in the street. I've spent the last hour telling him how he should move in with Martha and me, how the neighborhood is changing and his old friends are gone, how he needs someone to look after him, especially after the latest scan. Now we're done talking for the day, at least about that. We watch as Jimmy Flynn slices a foul that ricochets off the front fender of my Buick, which tonight is doubling as first base. Pollution can cause that, my father says. I think it's a planet. Next door, the sour smell of kimchi drifts through the dough's open window. A year ago, my father would describe his new neighbors during our weekly phone chats, how they kept to themselves and how he wished the odors that permeated their shared row house wall would do the same. That was before the first scan, its shadows, the diagnosis. After that, our chats turned to serious talk. Second opinions, treatments, how to keep his weight up. My father mentioned the doughs only once more, to say he had met the wife. I forgot all about them and their odd odors, but now I could see what he meant. The air smells like a riverbank at low tide. If my father notices, he doesn't let on. He just keeps staring at that point of light. A beautiful planet, he says, where the sky is as green as a summer lawn, and the sun and moon share that sky like an old married couple. I smile. I know what's coming. When I was a boy, he liked to make up bedtime stories that could have been written by Dr. Seuss, if Dr. Seuss had been a wiry Irishman with bushy, every-which-way brows. A planet, he continues, where everyone is born the color of pencil lead, identical and dull. But over time, they grow into beautiful pastels, mauve and aqua and mint. No one is exactly the same. Even those with the same color are of different shades. And once a year, they throw a big party, and the people enter the streets and squares and parks like a giant kaleidoscope come to life. The Doe screen door opens, and Mrs. Doe steps out. She's holding a plate filled with what looks like bloody entrails under cellophane. The kids stop and look, and the pitcher begins speaking pidgin English to the batter. They all laugh and hold their noses. Mrs. Doe doesn't look at them. She brings the plate over and holds it out to my father. For you, she says, a cricket's voice, high and bright. My father's face glows with the evening sun. Thank you, Mrs. Doe. You're always so good to me. He takes the plate and lays it in his lap. She bows her head, and my father does the same. For a moment, they look like two antennae tuning in to each other's frequency. Then Mrs. Doe turns and heads back into her house. My father looks to the sky as her screen door clicks shut. It's a planet, he repeats. Maybe so, I say, and make a wish anyway. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. And I promise I didn't really set you up to follow the singer. It really is true. And our next reader is Robin Smith Johnson. Robin.
I want to first of all thank Alice so much for giving all of us the opportunity to share our work tonight. I will be reading a very short essay about a childhood memory. It's called A Long Ago Nor'easter. As a child growing up on Cape Cod, I remember many storms. The most feared were the nor'easters that hit mostly during the winter months. At the time of one memorable storm that occurred in my early childhood, our family home in Orleans was situated across from a marsh, so there weren't many trees to block the path of the wind. Of course, this was long before the Weather Channel and easy access to news. My dad always loved to tease us with a great day for the ducks when rain threatened. A sunny day, by contrast, was a great day for the race, as in the human race. So we had to rely on our senses to know when bad weather was brewing. Many houses at that time had weather vanes that whirled and spun during very windy days. The nor'easter hit when I was 9 or 10 years old. My sisters and I spent the better part of 3 days inside our house, listening to the keening of the winds outside. Rain pelted the house, and the skies never lightened. My mother made our time enjoyable by bringing out a card table where we played games, did puzzles, and made Christmas ornaments. She lit a kerosene lamp to help us see since the power had gone out. It was cozy to be with family, but also lonely. We were so isolated in that house so near the sea. As the storm intensified, it seemed like giants were unleashed. In Theodore Retke's poem, The Storm, he writes, "A fine fume of rain driving in from the sea, riddling the sand like a wide spray of buckshot, the wind from the sea and the wind from the mountain contending, flicking the foam from the white caps straight upward into the darkness." In my child's mind, the storm was ferocious and impersonal. The list of local storms I've experienced could fill a small volume. Hurricane Gloria, Hurricane Bob, Tropical Storm Bertha, the perfect storm, the remnants of Hurricane Noel, the near misses of Hurricane Edward and Earl, and the blizzard of '05, Hurricanes Irene and Sandy, and of course the tornadoes that hit just a few weeks ago. Although I'm not sure what year it came to our shores, the storm I remember is a nor'easter that blew through my childhood dreams, a no-name storm of epic proportions. I am reminded of this early experience in every storm that has followed. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And of course, the storms have only been getting worse, so we have more to look forward to, I fear. And our next reader is Christina Laurie. Christina.
Hello. Since we have a couple of kids, can you hear me? Oh, here. Since we have a few kids here, I thought I'd read a couple of poems from my alphabet book. And since we've had a lot of things about the ocean and the coastal line, I thought I'd write D is for dunes. Rocks turn to sand and become dunes on the shore, protecting the land with beach glass galore. And then E is for estuary. Where fresh water meets salt, sea creatures breed. Let's try to give them the care that they need. The poems that I'd like to read are ones that we've workshopped in our Steeple Street Poets group. This first one they haven't heard yet. It's called After the Fruit. When the serpent beckoned Eve, and she tasted the ripe softness of the pink fruit from the forbidden tree, she felt the energy of earth pour into her bones, teasing the marrow with cool sweetness and the memory of being. Then she knew knowledge and adventure begged at her back door. She galloped into the new world with insight and understanding that her husband only sensed as he watched her frolic in the fields of gold, free, beautiful, and sensual. She knew that up until that moment, all she had known was isolation, of green and blue, of earth and sky, and gentle walks with God. Her voice called her to his evening stroll, but after the fruit, all she knew, that what had touched her tongue was only partial truth. And she grew in stature and grace, and she knew desire would save her. The second poem is called A Spring Day, and it was written in memory of Mary Oliver and her poem, The Summer Day. Where were you when the forest was formed? Where did you stand when the morning stars sang together and the heavens shouted for joy? Can you throw together the Pleiades or gather the stars into the girth of Orion? Can you create hollow-boned wings that carry feathered friends through the cerulean sky? Paint hues of the peacock or the common cardinal? Or separate the browns of the barn owl? Who made this cardinal? The one who flung himself into my kitchen window. The one who ate breadcrumbs I scattered near his motionless head. This bird who recovered to fly to the oak branch, who now trills his melody to me as I speak greetings to his presence. Now he brings a new mate for my approval. Now he sits proudly as she grazes under the feeder. Now they fly away in joyous song. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to sit quietly, how to be silent on my afternoon porch, how to listen gratefully, how to be idle and blessed, thankful for feathered symphony. Tell me, what else should I do? Don't the birds of the field die at last, and too soon? They don't toil or spin, yet they are clothed in more glory than Solomon. Their song is more beautiful than the voice of angels. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with the creatures of God in your backyard? And the third one is called Elegy. Without a single bird I can name, and it's for Vaughn, very good friend who could sing the songs of birds. Sorry. I've been standing before dawn near a stone wall, with your name etched on my tongue like a cardinal wing on the autumn breeze. Loss of life occurred on a certain day, a specific hour, I'm told. No one was with you. How that weighs on me. Your dog curled beside you, silent, waiting, patient, yet you never patted her. There can be no folding of the bird back into its egg. Each day lingers, never to return. Has there ever been anyone so inattentive as I, pretending to know the sparrow from the house wren, yet you knew just from a single song or description? Why can I not recall which one was your favorite? Was it the cardinal? You were the first person to teach me of jellyfish, as small as a pin, as big as a house, you said. I laughed. You were the first person to show me the difference in birds, to imitate songs of different species. Alone, I watched the water from the bike path we rode, water now moving like some large hand, forcing it toward the harbor. I long for the years before, cut aside with scissors as one clips a magazine, only to find it's the wrong picture. You examined fish scales iridescent in petri dishes in a silent lab. You are gone, and I collect red feathers from the grass. You are gone, and I misname the birds.
Thank you, Christina. That was lovely. I'm gonna hope to pronounce the next reader's name correctly. Zinab Asi, is that it? Zinab?
you almost pronounced my name right. No one ever does, so don't feel bad, don't worry. It's actually pronounced Zainab Bassi. So, yes. Is it working? Yeah, okay. So, hi, my name is Zainab Bassi. I'm 11 years old, and I'm going to be reading a piece that I wrote, and it's called Fufu, and it's a short story. She was known as Sweet Eva Kristieva. She was 5 years old and loved all animals, but her favorites were bunnies. Her traveling buddy was a worn pink bunny, Fufu. She loved to explore. Dark alleyways, sunny fields, you'd name it, she'd love it. Everywhere she went, Fufu went. One day, Eva packed her pink backpack with Fufu, a roll of odd money, and a rule book. Finally, she quickly looked around and shoved a small metal box into the bag. She grabbed the backpack, stuck a smiling sun sticker on her nose, and skipped out the door. When she got outside, she headed towards the park, where she took a sharp turn and, making sure no one was watching, dashed into a dark alleyway. When she reached the end of the first apartment building, 2 large bronze gates stood before her. What once would have been shining, clean gates were now old, stained, scratched, and broken. One of the bars had been ripped out of one, leaving a gap only big enough for a 5 or 6-year-old to slip through, which is just what Eva did. As she walked into the alley, she could hear a quiet buzzing noise. As she walked on, it grew louder and louder until she found that, in fact, it wasn't buzzing, but people talking. The more she strained her ears to hear the voices, the more she understood, and his was laying dead, one smooth voice said. "Ha, she thought she could beat me." Laughter broke out at this comment. Eva took the rule book and flipped through quickly, having already read it. If first joining, you must beat the king or queen in a battle. They can use any of theirs, strong or... Just then, a loud foghorn-like sound broke the murmuring air. Ripping the sticker off her nose and shoving the rule book into her bag, Eva ran towards it. The closer she got, the brighter it became. Soon, she came to an arena, big enough for 2 stuffed animals to fight in. It was bathed in bright light. Surrounding it were men and women, all covered in dust, wearing ripped black jeans and sometimes even armor-like robes. Sitting on top of a pile of broken and ripped stuffed animals was a young girl, around 15 or 16 years old, with short red hair and blue eyes. She wore a long, bloodied robe, and beneath her lay 2 young kids, covered by a old, ripped, and stained robe. Eva knew those kids. Every day since finding the bronze gates, she had watched the people fight, and she had even watched the red-haired girl become queen. Pushing her long brown hair out of her face, she stepped out of the gloom. "I wish to battle," she said, in a voice that showed much more confidence than she felt. At this, lots of laughter broke out, and several smirks appeared. The queen silenced them with a look, and said to Eva, "Okay, but first you must battle me." Eva pulled Fufu out of her bag and the little metal box. One moment. Eva put Fufu into the arena and opened the little metal box to reveal a small controller. The queen took a pink teddy bear and threw it into the arena. She pulled out a controller and pressed a red button. The teddy bear, which was laying limp, jumped to life. The pink fabric of its arms folded back to reveal metal guns and lasers. The black eyes of the teddy bear glowed red. The fabric of its mouth ripped back, showing razor-sharp teeth. "This is the best one I ever made," said the queen, pointing to the pink bear. "Just a bit of coding and the right tools." "Now, where is yours?" she challenged Eva. Eva grabbed Fufu and stretched as high as her full 3 feet would let her. The queen placed a roll of the odd money down, and Eva did the same. Eva then pressed the button on the controller that was marked with an S, and Fufu lay limp. With her panic rising, she pressed again. This time, Fufu jumped up, and with blinding light, grew 5 times his original size. In both arms he held lasers and guns. With astonishing grace, he glided over to the pink teddy bear, and before the queen could press anything, sliced open its pink fluffy head. The queen, looking astonished, got down from the pile of stuffed animals, and in her cupped hands held the limp shape of the pink teddy bear. Eva looked at the 2 kids, who were still cowering under their robe. "Come on," she mouthed to them. She grabbed Fufu and had him make a come gesture with his hand. And suddenly, they all got up and ran. Behind them, they heard the queen's voice, cracking with anger, shout, "Get them!" With heavy footsteps following them, they ran. When they got to the gate, the two kids looked at her in confusion. Ava pointed to the missing bar and squeezed through, with the others following close behind. "Run!" Ava squealed, bolting into the park. Ava's mother, who had been watching her from the window, sipping coffee, nudged her husband. "Oh, look, honey, they're playing."
So can you help me pronounce your name again? Zina. You're the future. This is great. I can't wait to see it as a movie, actually. Our next reader is Susan Carlson. Susan.
I thought I might need these. My eyes are very sensitive to the light. And my hair used to be red. Now it's got lots of blonde ones in it, but I am not a queen. But I thank you for that story, and I feel this resonance with a lot of what's going on here. Everybody's reading, so it's wonderful that this is happening. Okay. All right. Story of the winter robins. Robins usually signal the start of spring. Seeing them in winter, one could think of a silent spring being one possible future for our world. Welcoming the work of winter empowers us. We enter a wonderland of wishes for a different future. Here is the true story of the winter robins and one such winter wonderland. I was inside doing dishes. My ears were first to go outside, then my eyes took flight as whispering wings began their flowing and lively symphony. It seemed that hundreds of robins brought the naked sleeping trees to life. Occasionally, 3 or 4 would visit the forest floor to drink from the little circular open vessel meant to gather the rains for just this purpose. Others would wait their turn on the earth nearby. When nourished and ready, those who had been drinking would fly off to trees and rest gently on the finger branches of their welcoming hands. Others continued the symphony of song in flight, as if a folk dance guided them how to flow from tree to tree, and always intuitively in consideration of the location of the other birds around them. Then a lone blue jay happened to be thirsty. He swooped down suddenly to claim his entitlement to the drinking vessel. The robins at first continued to drink with him. He pecked at them and uttered angry noises. To avoid his beak, the robins at first flew away. There he sat for a few seconds, captain of this vessel he had pirated. He took a few sips, and then one brave robin came to visit the open vessel and share the waters. Another soon joined the party. Again the jay, so blue, began his attack, and the robins flew away. It seemed like hundreds of robins bravely and one by one reapproached the waters and visited their angry companion with quiet determination and nothing more. They could have overpowered him with their sheer numbers, but they chose not to attack or retaliate in defense. They only defended their right to be there and to share with a quiet joy and calm. And then the winter's wonder opened a portal upon the land in the reflection of the contents of the waters. The blue jay and some robins, for a brief moment, shared the water together in peace and silence. And then the jay left the robins drinking there and peacefully flew away to the welcoming arms of the trees. Heaven's sense. God is the fire's warmth that pleases. Grace is the color of the sunset's trance. Humor is the ocean's salty breezes. And love is the music with which my heart can dance. Simply amazing. I believe. I believe in the complexity of life. It's that simple. I believe in the power of love. It's that transformative. Not love that cures or prevents the challenges in the world. Love that accepts them as they come and transforms them into unimagined opportunities. I believe in people. There's lots of them here today. Not their truth, their strength, or their abilities. I believe in their finding all those in the right time and in the way that suits each one the best. I believe in the inherent worth of each being in human form. I believe in fate, not a fate that excludes choice, rather a fate that continuously brings choices our way, if we only notice them. I believe in spirit, the spirit that dwells within us, around us, and long beyond our journey on this earth. I believe it's that simple and that complex. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Susan. And now we're on page 2. Our next reader is Dylan Joyce. We're skipping Dylan. How about that? All right. So our next reader is Susan Clark. Susan.
Thank you for this opportunity. My favorite poems are ones that seem to write themselves, and sometimes I'm quite surprised when I read them. Fancy Feast. Temperamental tabby crouches on the windowsill, contemplating the gustatory value of the flesh under the red, blue, gray, and brown feathers of those fidgety creatures prancing under the feeder. Her jaw chatters in uncontrollable spasms. Her tail beats a tattoo against the African violet, ripping off its pale lavender blossoms, scattering them on the floor. She is violent in her instincts, born by ancestors that roamed the primitive plains, high mountain passes, and dense, tangled jungles. Down through the eons, her brothers and sisters honed the survival traits which swim through her genes. Her ears twitch, head turns. From the kitchen, the wild call of the can opener. Some days, it is good to row to the middle of the lake, ship the oars, lie back in the bow, and let the little boat drift where it may. What will influence my direction today? The widening swells left by a leaping fish? The aero propulsion from the flutter of the dragonfly's wings as it lands on the gunwale? The faint breeze which quivers tamarack leaves bent low over lake waters? Or the splash of the painted turtle slipping from its sunning log? So many insignificant events touch, twist, direct, divert. Some days, it is good to not resist, to give up control, to be guided by those seemingly small events and live in the amen. I'll not go far today, but that is all right. This is not a day for going far. Sea of stars. Damp sand penetrates the cracks of her worn sandals. Sandals removed from the swollen feet of her dead sister. Her sister hastily buried by the side of the oft-used track. The track and the grave now obliterated by ever-shifting hot sands. Hot sands which stretch into the forever. Forever, the days since she left her home. Home where her mother and her baby wait. wait in huddled communion with the other seekers. Seekers divided by culture and language, joined in hope. Hope reinforced by rumors, promises, and letters. Letters sporadic, filled with happy lies, sometimes money. Money to buy food, cloth for a new dress, school tuition. School where she stood before the worn, pull-down map. The old map showing her home country on the west coast of Africa. Africa which soon she would leave in that flimsy boat. The boat patched with metal plates, caulked with rags. Rags like the clothes she wears, her good dress wrapped in her bundle. Her bundle held close, slung across her body. Her body so tired she is beyond sleep, beyond tears. Tears left so far behind with her mother, her baby, her sister. Her sister who, as she lay dying, removed their grandmother's necklace, the necklace given to the eldest daughter to give her strength. Strength which she so often doubted over the many months and miles a half-continent's journey to the edge of this great sea. The sea, a counterpart to the vast desert, dark and dangerous. Danger smolders in the eyes of the boatmen, dressed in shabby layers. Layers of storm clouds amass on the horizon. The horizon stretches to the north, where a new life beckons. The men drag the creaky boat off the beach, hustle the seekers on board. She caresses the necklace, removes her sandals, lifts her skirt. As she wades into the waters, she walks through a sea of stars. Stars at her feet, stars above.
Okay. And our, excuse me. Thank you so much, Susan. That was wonderful, especially the last one. Especially the last one. Our next reader is Dave Mata. Dave?
Okay, something that I wrote was from a word-by-word prompt. The prompt was to take a guitar riff and to use that as the inspiration to a piece. So the riff that I chose was Freebird. It starts with a few methodical bumps of a snout. The thumping is slow at first, but exploring. Slowly, the water undulates around me. I begin to undulate within. My insides ache with anticipation. I am at the mercy of the beast beneath. The hits grow more intense. Suddenly, I feel the first flash of pain. No, not pain, but electric excitement. It courses through my veins and clouds my frantic mind. I can just make out their dark shapes, gliding like silent wraiths. The attack grows more savage, more brutal by the second. Lashing out, I feel their skin tear at my hands like sandpaper. I am powerless, powerless to move, powerless not to move. The strikes are now massive, brutally tearing apart my being. This goes for an eternity, for an instant, who can tell? And in the eternal instant, I am whole, I am empty. I am filled, I am spent. I am master, I am slave. Then it is over. I am floating in the red foam of eternity. My mind spent, torn apart. Finally, I am nothing but pieces, adrift till they meet the shore, thinking only this: would you still remember me? Thank you.
Let's see if I can readjust the mic. So, I'm actually the 22nd reader. So, I said I would end the night, but I also had said to Andrew, if there was anybody who didn't get to sign up, like, let me know now. You can read before me. Did everybody get a chance? Is somebody in the back? Whoever the person is in the back, come on up. And just say your name.
Hi there. I'm actually Donna Mata. I think I was on the list with Dave. And we are actually, I love the sense of community here. And we're from the Berkshires. So we traveled tonight to read. But I love the Cape. I've spent much of my life here. And that inspires me, among a million other things. So my name is Donna Mata. And I also write under Laurel Joy Grayson. Oh, once there was a fisherman. His love I was to be, but every time I'd mention it, he'd mention me the sea. You see, the sky above us and below us is the blue. To this love and to this only will I ever to be true. I thought him to be joking and put him to the test. Now I stand upon the shore and cry here with the rest. The next one is called To Sit With You Beneath the Meadow Tree. To sit with you beneath the meadow tree, soft new green on branch tip, soft new touch beneath fingertip, soft new song on soft lips. To hear the music of the wind upon strings and chords and teeth, smile of the sun on my face and arms, relief from cold hard days of dark worry and grief. Laughter's lilt from your chest and throat, from your soul to mine. You and me in the simple golden warmth of safety and camaraderie. Sing a song to me simply for the sake of the song, simply for the sake of sharing the sacred moment, our moment. I will rest in this moment for all my days. Beach roses make me cry. Pickets washed bare, dunes graceful curves, hidden horizon, hope offered. Silver foam chases plover, chase me, I submit. I feel the smell of sailors' yells and maidens' tears ashore. Laid my back on rock and watched the clock of night sky rolling in. As sun sinks down below blue line, dark silhouette embraces mine. Sea frost caresses me, moist, cold, lustily grabs my bones. Gray mist expanse, you are now home. Gull screech, soul search. I think I will die, if not here. Hast you stood at the tip, arms outstretched, challenged here atop rocky beach, long beaten to granule by rhythmic ride of mighty Atlantic. Straining, strangled warrior cries snatched away and carried off. Whispered thoughts face such force. Risen flame blown out, hard counter gust, constant gale. Dizzy prospect perched on last edge. Ahead, beautiful, expanse expanse, expanse, and wind. And I just have one final. I have to pay homage to our mountain home as well. This is called The Sun Sets Over My Mountain. The sun sets over my mountain. The sun sets and I begin to cry. Crow curtain flaps, restless in evening breeze. Where to roost, where to roost. Golden descent, peaceful purpled haze. Thoughts of you worlds away. Ocean port, salt air, gulls screech. Worn wooden vessels bounce and bob. Salt mist and sea gales smooth. Red skies at night, cheery sight in my heart's harbor. The sun sets over my mountain, the sun sets and I begin to cry. Golden bees, laden haunches, buzz heavily home. Gentle search along lilac path. Hive warmth, buzzing bundle. The sun sets over my mountain, the sun sets and I begin to cry. Peepers sing nostalgic, firefly gems, photo flashes, gone youth. I remember you. Hot summer day, pre-thunder silence, breaths held, warm patter, fat cool drops on green leaves, ozone, cool rain over hot youth, t-shirts stick to able bodies, rainy mud river runs down red clay road, culverts fill so fast in summer storms. The sun sets over my mountain, the sun sets and I begin to cry. Porch, bench, rocking chair, hot tea beneath red maple, and I rejoice. We are here, we are here, we are home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna, all the way from the Berkshires, and if I had missed you, I would have been very cross with myself. So I'm the last reader, and I'm going to read 3 poems. One is a new poem, and one is the title poem of the book Born Bridge, and I'll say that maybe because Donna just came over the bridge, that's why I chose that one. And the third one actually is for Andrew, who put this whole thing together, who he, I think, found me either on Facebook or Googled me and found Death at T-Ticket Hardware, so I'll end with Death at T-Ticket Hardware. So the first one, usually Rich does this to me. He embarrasses me by reading a love poem, so I hardly ever write love poems. This one came, as I think Sue Clark said, in a whole piece. Just it is a sonnet because it's 14 lines, but it's not a sonnet because it doesn't rhyme whatsoever. And we're going to do something about cats, since we started off with dachshunds. I think we should end with cats, who I hope have 9 lives. So this is simply called a love poem for Rich. When I asked you about getting a dog, you told me about putting down Shakespeare, the cat you rescued from the shelter, the one the vet called stinky, and for good reason, the one with no teeth and gunk in his eyes because his mother never cleaned him. You told me how you bathed him, put antibiotic drops in his eyes, added broth to the cat food so he could gum it, but he stayed so skinny. You gave him an extra year and affection before you had to put him down. I knew then you'd be good to me. Sort of at our age, you have to make sure that somebody would put you down. Okay. This one is, for people who come over the Born Bridge, and I'm just going to show you the cover of the book. It's done by Martha's Vineyard artist for the book, Genevieve Jacobs. It's collage, and it's gorgeous, actually. So for anybody who ever comes over the Born. Born Bridge. Not the hard rain the rivers crave, not the downpour to quench the forest floor, just a light mist on almost empty roads, as I'm entombed in gray. The only sound, an intermittent shush, wipers clearing windshield. This quiet is pleasing, a monochromatic alone, when suddenly the overcast lightens from charcoal to dove, then splits into strands of mauve, salmon, rose, and the bridge ahead luminous, wrapped in a pale blue shawl. Each raindrop clings, glistening in pure light that's always there, even when hidden. I've come home. So this, sometimes when you write a poem that becomes your favorite, you never actually think you could ever write anything else. And I think that if I'm only remembered for one poem, this would be it. And like Sue Clark said, this actually came in a whole piece. And it came after reading as a meditation in the morning with my first cup of coffee. I would read a poem, and I was reading Naomi Shihabnai's poem, Kindness, which starts off, before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. So this one came to me. Death of T-Ticket Hardware. I never knew his name, nor he mine. He was always there, patient, polite, shy. I never knew the name of what I needed either, but he did after listening. You know that thingamajig that connects the hose to the washer? I need the innards of a lamp. He'd find it in a flash through overcrowded aisles so narrow only a munchkin could maneuver. In the back of the store on the dusty top shelf where what's-its live. He'd tell me how to use it, and he'd tell me again, drawing it on the little scratch pad he kept at the register, not the electric kind, next to the dish of pennies and the bowl of lollipops. I would always leave with a red one and confidence. He was the kindest man in town. I imagined he went home at 5:30 every night to the apartment above the store and told his wife over meatloaf and mashed potatoes, green beans and pecan pie. That lady came in again today, seems bright enough, but doesn't even know a lamp has a socket. And he'd smile when she would say, "Oh, Mrs. Dimwit," and they would turn on the news at 6. The drive to town is eerie now the T-Ticket Hardware is gone. Boarded up windows stare like a zombie whose soul's been stolen by Walmart. Peter Cabral, son of John, son of Peter, son of John. I never said hello or goodbye or thank you. I still miss T-Ticket Harbor. So I just wanted to thank everybody for showing up. Thank Andrew especially for putting this together. Thank the new media center for Falmouth Community TV, which is gorgeous space and does such a service to our community. And an open mic is a little mini community. So after this, if you want to stay and talk to each other and look at the facility, and there are still cookies, which Rich and I will not take home, so please take home some cookies. And what you can do for us is to spread the word. We got the word out as best we could, and now we're asking, it's sort of like a Mary Kay Cosmetics. We're just asking everybody to spread the word. All the feedback is welcome. Andrew's here, I'm here. If you like it, tell us why you like it. Always start with what works well. If you want it to be different, tell us that. It's new, it's evolving. And the next, let's see if I have it in my notes here, or if I don't. Yes. Same day of the week, Thursday the 26th, sign up, 7:30 we start. The format will be 5 minutes, so bring your best words, and it's great to see everybody, meet some new people, and see some old friends. Thank you.